Let's be real. In today's world, data is pretty much everything. It's the engine for growth, it gives us incredible insights, and it powers our digital lives. But what happens when all that data is left unprotected? Today, we're going to dive into the super critical role of the data protection officer, the person who is the essential guardian of a company's most valuable and, let's face it, most vulnerable asset.
Okay, just stop and think about that for a second. This is the exact scenario that keeps CEOs and board members staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Your investors start freaking out, regulators are suddenly knocking at your door, and all that trust you've painstakingly built with your customers, it just starts to evaporate.
And make no mistake about it, this is not some far-off hypothetical threat. It is a very real, clear, and present danger. A major data breach isn't just an IT problem. No, it's a full-blown business catastrophe that can absolutely shatter a company's reputation and its financial future in the blink of an eye.
To really get a handle on the stakes here, we have to frame this the right way. This isn't just about cybersecurity. It's about a fundamental challenge that really defines what it means to do business in this digital age.
The consequences of a breach are, well, a perfect storm. First up, you've got the massive multi-million-dollar fines from regulators. But honestly, beyond the money, you're facing this erosion of customer trust, which is something that can be almost impossible to win back. Then you add in the intense scrutiny and a tarnished reputation, and yeah, the damage can be absolutely catastrophic.
So you might be asking, how did we even get here? This wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a really fundamental shift in the entire landscape of data privacy.
The core shift is this. It used to be that corporations held all the cards, right? They collected your data, and they got to decide what to do with it. But today, the script has been completely flipped. The power is now with the individual. You have rights over how your data is collected, how it's used, and even when it gets erased.
And this shift wasn't just some change in attitude. It was written into law. Big regulations like the EU's famous GDPR, Qatar's PDPL, and the UAE's PDPL, these are just a few examples of a global movement that has seriously raised the bar for compliance and put user-centric principles front and center.
So, navigating this complex new world, it requires a specialist, a new kind of leader. So, who is this champion of data privacy? This is the Data Protection Officer, or the DPO. You can think of them as the central nervous system for a company's entire privacy strategy. They're the key link between the regulators on the outside and the company's own leadership and its customers on the inside.
And their job description is incredibly diverse. They're part educator, training staff on best practices. They're part auditor, monitoring compliance and leading these big risk assessments. And crucially, they're a strategist who has a direct line to the top leadership, making sure that privacy risks are never, ever ignored.
This quote really puts the role in perfect perspective. The DPO isn't just some compliance manager tucked away in an office somewhere. They are a senior leader, just as critical to the health of the business as the chief financial officer or the chief technology officer. Okay, let's dive into this a little deeper. What does it actually take to be a great DPO? And what are the dragons they have to slay on a daily basis? A successful DPO is a true hybrid, this unique blend of three core skills. They need deep legal know-how to navigate all those complex privacy laws. They need to be technically fluent to understand data architecture. And, so important, they need that collaborative finesse to work with every single department, from marketing to HR. And the job is just full of challenges. There's a constant tension between super strict compliance and the need for business growth. They have to navigate a total minefield of conflicting international laws for data transfers. And they're responsible not just for their own company, but for making sure all their vendors are compliant too. It's a lot. Now, to tackle all these challenges, DPOs rely on a pretty sophisticated toolkit. They're using platforms like OneTrust for compliance management and tools like BigID to discover and map out exactly where sensitive data lives across the entire organization. And for anyone listening who thinks this all sounds kind of fascinating, here's a potential roadmap. It usually starts with earning key industry certifications, then mastering those risk assessments and gaining deep legal and technical knowledge. But really, nothing beats getting that hands-on experience in a compliance or privacy-focused role. So let's bring this all together. Having a DPO is no longer just a nice-to-have or some simple checkbox you tick. It is now a core strategic imperative for any organization that actually wants to thrive. So why is this considered such a smart investment? Well, because an effective DPO does way more than just keep you out of legal hot water. Yes, they ensure compliance and they reduce risk, but their true value lies in building and maintaining trust with your customers. And that, my friends, is priceless. And if we look ahead, this role is only going to become more important. As companies lean more and more heavily on AI, which is incredibly data hungry, the DPO is going to be the one guiding its ethical adoption and ensuring data is used responsibly, really shaping corporate strategy at the highest levels.
Which brings us right back to the most important point. Embracing the DPO isn't about ticking some legal box. It's about fundamentally investing in privacy as a core value. And that's an investment that builds a more resilient, more trustworthy, and ultimately a more successful business. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look at your own organization, is your approach to data privacy just a defensive cost you have to deal with? Or are you treating it like what it truly is, maybe your single greatest competitive asset?